Welcome to News from Down Home, where I talk about news from my hometown of Princess Anne, Maryland. My family moved there in 1903 from Western Maryland, and I lived there until I was 13, but I still regard it as my hometown. There's a lot of people that I love that are buried there. I have a lot of relatives who still live there. So, their version of what we have today, Facebook and Instagram, was their local newspaper, the Maryland Herald, up until the 1980s. And in this, you had world news, state news, local news, plus you had things about who was visiting who and who was entertaining who and meetings. So we'll talk about the um, the Tuesday morning, January 4th, 1916 edition, and it has in there things like this. Miss C.C. Dixon is visiting Mrs. John Herrick at Norfolk, Virginia. The Civic Club will meet in the courthouse tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Dr. C.W. Purnell, optometrist, will be at Omar A. Jones's drugstore Wednesday afternoon, January 5th, 1916. The Young Ladies Card Club was entertained last Wednesday afternoon by Miss Marion Stanford at her home on Prince William Street. And it talks about Mrs. T.A. Walker left last Tuesday for Parkersburg, West Virginia, where she had been summoned by the illness of her father, Mr. J.F. Bowen. And Mrs. William S. Long, formerly of the town, is seriously ill with pneumonia at the home of her daughter, Mrs. George W. King in Baltimore. So these are just some of the things that you would see in the paper, and you can get those in Preserving Somerset, a digital collection, if you want to look at old newspapers like that. Let's talk about a walking tour of Princess Anne, Maryland, which I'm reading from. And today we talk about a momentous and important place in Princess Anne, historical, and it's called the Teackle Mansion. Now, Littleton Dennis Teackle features prominently in the history of the Lower Eastern Shore on many levels. All right. Um, he was a merchant, an entrepreneur, and eventually, in later years, a statesman. He was born in Accomack County, Virginia, to one of the wealthiest gentry families on the Eastern Shore. Teackle moved to Somerset County, Maryland, with his expectant wife, Elizabeth Upshur, in 1801. He followed in the footsteps of his successful father, John Teackle, establishing a transatlantic enterprise and a family partnership. Teackle began work on what would become a 10,000 square foot landmark on the Eastern Shore following a grand tour of England and Scotland in 1799 to 1800. It's believed that he modeled his home on a Scottish manor he saw in his travels. They named it Teackletonia to differentiate their house from his uncle mansion, Beckford's mansion, sitting a few hundred yards to the southeast. So now Teackle had ups and downs in his economics. He wasn't always rich, and he finally died in a hotel room in 1848 in Baltimore. But in the century after his death, different people owned parts of the property until finally the Somerset County Historical Society wound up owning it all as of May 2000. So it's a very important landmark in Princess Anne, and something that if you go there, I hope you'll see. And as you drive by or walk by, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Please click like.